Save 8% off your order at TruTechTools.com by using the Shop Talk discount code. Hello and welcome back to the HVAC Shop Talk podcast live stream. It's good to see everybody out there. Hope you guys can all hear me very well. In fact, I think I'll turn myself up just slightly here. I think I need to be a little bit louder. There we go. Now we're getting in the neighborhood. All right. So it's good to see all of you out there tonight. We have a full chat here already. We have Rick G says, let's get it. We're going to get it, Rick. That's what we're doing right now. We have Thomas with a thumbs up. Thumbs up to you too, Thomas. Thank you. Thomas is also active in the Discord server, which I have open here on my left. So anyone who chats in the Discord server will get seen, hopefully, as I glance to and fro here. We just had a brand new person join up, so welcome to Monkey Bones. Monkey Bones is now part of the Discord server, and basically all the Discord server is a bunch of guys talking. And you can share pictures and stuff and have live voice chats, and we can do some of the interviews from there too. So it's kind of cool. But there are, 33 people on the Discord server right now, so relatively small. So we're just having a long conversation here that goes on and on and on about service calls, installs, what's coming up on the podcast, all sorts of stuff. So if you want to join that, there's a link in the description of this video, and you can join us over there. There's apps for the phone, for Discord, or you can do it on desktop of your computer. We have Lizaraga. Lizaraga's former winner. I know we've given Lizaraga something. I think Lizaraga's the one who won the Zoom lock back in the day. I do believe we have Cooling with Kraus, HVAC. What's going on, man? Jimmy Rodriguez. Eddie, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. We'll tell a mother's story here in a minute. And you guys we'll go ahead and just say it. You can call anytime. If you have a Mother's Day story, because it is Mother's Day, and if you have a Mother's Day story you want to tell about your mother or your wife, how it affected you in the trade, anything like that, feel free to call in. I can go ahead and put the thing up there. You can call it anytime. I have some stuff we're going to talk about here in a minute, but if you want to call in and tell a story real quick, you can go ahead and do it. What's up, Hunter King? Says, I shouldn't have shaved my beard now that I'm here looking at mine. Well, my beard is out of control, Hunter. I have a beard problem. It needs to be trimmed up. See, I'm what you call, I don't know, purist maybe? Maybe I'm a purist because I have this beard, this wild beard, and nothing here, my hair or my beard, nothing about it is calculated. This is what happens when I get out of bed. I might go like this. Like when I left the job site yesterday, I was doing some duct work, which we'll talk about a little bit later maybe, yesterday, and how I cleaned up, because I wanted to go by Tractor Supply. And I was so dirty. Now, this is how dirty I was, because in the crawl space all day long. I was so dirty, I was too dirty to go to Tractor Supply. So what I did was I used a water hose outside and took myself a miniature top half of the body shower, changed my clothes, and I didn't change my clothes outside. I did that inside the house, but I had to clean up. You know, you put all this water in your hair, you feel so much better just after, running water over your hair and washing your face off. You're not clean yet, but you feel 100% better. Hey, there's a new message right there. We have a brand new person over here on Discord. Tristan, welcome to the Discord server. If you're coming from the show and maybe you hear me now, what's up, Tristan? Welcome aboard. So, I was washing myself off with the water hose or the water spigot out there, cleaning up, and I just feel a million times better. But all I did is go like this. And I'm aware my hair is nothing special. I'm just saying there's no care here. The beard here just grows out. The mustache is out of control. I mean, I got to take some scissors to this bad boy. Ken HVAC from Ohio, been gone for a while from Shop Talk. Well, welcome back, Ken. Good to see you back and around. We also have, Blue Air HVAC says he's got his popcorn. Hey, excellent. I wish I had some popcorn. I can't eat any popcorn because I have to talk this whole time. That's the pain in the butt about that, man. Got to keep talking. Got Michael Wright says, yo, what's up, Michael? We have Mikhail Avocado Gaming. We have Clint Glasgow, Jeff Kuiper, Mel 904. Dustin Weber says he's here for once. All right. We have Alexander, our buddy from Puerto Rico. I don't know why I have to mention that Alexander's from Puerto Rico every time I say his name. I don't know why that is. It doesn't make any sense. I don't mention anyone else's location, but it's just Alexander. I also have Weaver Maintenance. Says too dirty for Tractor Supply, but not too dirty for Harbor Freight. Okay, let me tell you. All right, that's an interesting point right there, because I call Tractor Supply farming Harbor Freight. That's what I call it. Even though Tractor Supply has like DeWalt and Makita tools, it's kind of weird. They have this strange combination of Chinese stuff, because you can smell it when you go in there. It's like you can smell the Chinese manufacturing, which, I guess that is DeWalt too, right? Or some of those are made in Mexico, I guess. And you go in there, and there's some nice stuff, but some cheap stuff too. Harbor Freight, our Harbor Freight, he's absolutely right about. Weaver's absolutely right. If I were to walk in there completely full of filth and disgusting mud on me, be right at home in our Harbor Freight. But there's another Harbor Freight that I go to in Clinton, North Carolina, that is much nicer. When you walk inside, everything's just nice and prim and proper inside. But the one we have is in a place I call, and many call, Yucktown. It's a bad part of town. It's like a place where you don't want to go at night. If you were to leave that Harbor Freight and walk behind a store, there's a housing development there that I would not walk across at night. So that's the kind of layout right there. Connor says Harbor Freight is Greece. Yep, Connor's over there on the server, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I do believe that's him right up there right now, I see. Steve Stone, what's up? T-Lex says it's called Chinesium. All the carcinogens of cancer-causing vapors. Yeah, I think that's what Ralph used to say. He said it's like the carcinogens are in the air when you walk in Harbor Freight. And Hunter, let's see. What do you think that's going to happen to natural gas? I'm in Canada, but with this green energy movement, I'm just curious. Thanks, Zach. Hey, no problem, Hunter. With natural gas, I mean, where I'm at, I don't see any issues with natural gas. In fact, I believe natural gas is one of the more clean-burning fossil fuels that we have available. So I don't see it going away anytime soon. There's a lot of infrastructure for natural gas here. I just think it's one of those things, and some of it's cyclical. Like, it depends on what kind of politicians are in charge. But it always goes like they go far left with the politics, and then it rebounds back to the right, and then it rebounds. So you kind of get not much done. I'm sure there'll be a general move toward making things energy efficient, but I don't think natural gas is going to go away anytime soon. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's going to be here for a long, long time. We have some more people joining the Discord chat over here. I see Maxima Boy. Welcome to the Discord chat. Hey, man, this whole saying it live must have worked. There's a couple people over here now. What I do is I hang out on the server mainly, although I check it throughout the day periodically, but it's mainly right before the show starts and right after the show is over. Because what I'll be doing is if we have a prize giveaway or something, I'll be packing up a prize in here, and I'll keep the Discord open, and I'll talk to the guys on Discord. Sometimes when I'm in here, because I'll be in here in the morning, whenever I'm not doing field stuff, and I'll be working, and I'll have it open or something like that. So mainly it's like before and after the show. So it's a great time if you actually want to come on the show or something, and you have like a story to tell, you can go ahead and put it in the Discord chat, or you can message me on Discord, and I'll hear it, and then we can work something out where you can come on the show and tell your story. Tony Del Grego says, diesel is out of control. Yeah, it's high priced here. I stopped at the gas station today, which is I'm right off of I-40. I mean, I can literally see I-40 from my front yard. And when I travel about 18 miles south, I come to a little town called Rocky Point. And I got off there and I got gas at a truck stop, and it was over $4. And at the interstate, they always ream people out. If you go away from the interstate, the gas prices drop considerably. Like it's $4.19 right there at the interstate. But if you go 10 miles away from the interstate, it might be $3.79 or $3.89. But I had to have gas right then. I was going to my parents' house for Mother's Day. So it's just one of those things. It is out of control. I believe the diesel was $5 or a little bit over $5. It's crazy. Hunter King says, if you're not in the HVAC trade, what trade would you choose otherwise? Well, if I had to choose one, it would probably be electrical, because I think it's the one that's closest to HVAC for what I like, which is troubleshooting. So it seems like electrical, because a lot of the AC troubleshooting comes back to electrical anyway. So I think that's probably the most logical choice for me. And, evidently I work doing electrical because I wired this building and everything seems to work. For those of you who don't know, I built this office over the last year or so. I started it just to condense the story. I had I say studio. That's a little bit overstating. I had one of the bedrooms in our house and I was podcasting out of it. But then when my mother-in-law moved in with us, because she was getting older and she got diagnosed with cancer a couple years ago, so she moved in, and then we wanted to separate because my mother-in-law and daughter were in the same room. So they took the studio, and I moved out here and started. I started building this place, and it hasn't been quite a year. I'm building it off and on, but I'm at the point where I'm out here now. I wired it up. I got the internet cable, but Dave, like you would know, it is not the right internet cable, and we will have to switch that out before we have a water ingress issue on the cable. But I've done all this stuff like this. It looks like Maximo Boy has just subscribed on YouTube. Thank you, Maximo Boy. Good to see you in both locations. We even have some chatting going on over in Discord. Looks like we have a dirty filter. It says, found this gem last week, no heat. Okay. So join us on Discord. We'll have a continuous conversation there. I really appreciate it, guys, those of you who are doing it. Weaver says $5.12 for diesel in Cleveland today. That sounds about the same here. Everything is more expensive now. I found that out because I don't do a ton of field work, and I definitely don't do a ton of install work. But yesterday, I was trying to wrap up as much as I could possibly wrap up the job I've been doing where my brother-in-law is flipping this house. He's bought a house where they're going to put a highway. It's basically Highway 17, U.S. Highway 17 bypass around the town of Hampstead, which is in southeastern North Carolina. All the houses that are in the way of this future progress highway had to either be destroyed or somebody purchased them and moved them. My brother-in-law got this huge house, like 3,000 square foot, and moved it about a mile and a half down the road, set it down there, and he's going to flip it and sell it. He's a real estate agent. So I had the opportunity to do the work for him, which I'm grateful for, but it's not something I do a whole lot. So we ripped out these train units, and I'm reinstalling them, or I have reinstalled them, and I had to do new ductwork in the crawl space because obviously we had to rip all that out when they moved the house. So I was there all day yesterday ripping out ductwork, and it was just, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. It's something I don't do a whole lot. Now, I'm in my 40s now, so a day worth of ductwork in the crawl space and crawling around. I'm actually, since I lost weight, I used to be much heavier. And since I lost weight, it's much easier, but the hardest thing is my knees. After a day of, crawling around in the crawl space, I hate knee pads. We had this conversation the other day. Knee pads are more painful on the back of my knee than they are comfort for the front of my knee. So in general, I don't need them very often. I never think to buy them in advance, so I never have them. So I was doing ductwork, dryer vent, etc. from about 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. yesterday, and just worked straight through, and I got all of it done, I think, unless I forgot something. The inspector will let me know if I forgot something, I'm sure. But it's just one of those things. It's not something I love to do, although it was fulfilling to do it, oddly enough, to get it done, because I do enjoy working. I love tools. I've always loved tools, whether it be power tools, HVAC tools. I just love them. I love comparing different tools. I love using them. So I'm always happy to do that, although I probably prefer for it not to be in the same instance every time, because my knee will be all blown out by the time we're done. Let's see here. Hunter King says, last question, Zach, union versus non-union. Thanks. I've never had an experience personally with a union. All of my union dislike, and it is dislike, and I realize there's a lot of guys that are union, diehard union, and my experience comes from the union treating my father so poorly years ago. My father did not want to join the union, and they had harassed him and slashed the tires of his car. And that always sticks in my mind. And I know there's a lot of guys who are diehard union. And I think one of the things that I think would be good about a union is a level of training and the support you get as a worker. I've never been sort of I don't want to paint this in the wrong way, because I think unions are probably good for a lot of people. A lot of people are pro-union. I've never been the person to be part of this large group I know how they collectively bargain things. They get their wages done properly. And I think that's a good thing. But I've just never been one to be part of a group like that. I've been kind of like, I'm just going to work hard and I should be paid. It's kind of a foolish mentality, but it's who I am. It's the same mentality I have as a business owner when I said, I'm a good technician, so I should make plenty of money. I don't have to learn any business. And that's a faulty mentality because you do have to learn business. You have to learn sales. You have to do it because otherwise you're going to sink. It doesn't matter how good a technician you are. You have to be a businessman as well as a technician. And I was a one-man company for many years, and I probably could have been much more successful had I learned that a little bit better than I originally did. Let's see. Let's see. Sam, and let me go down the comments here, and then we'll talk about some other stuff. Let's see. Diesel's $5.50, $5.69, $1.70 each fill-up. Mel 904 says that is a lot of money right there. Weaver Maintenance says it would be interesting to see how long that cable will last underground. Think it will depend on how much water it sits in. Yeah, we could test that out. I don't want to be surprised, Weaver. That's the only problem. I don't want to be surprised in the middle of one of these broadcasts. It just goes away. But what I might do is I might run your cable, the right cable, run it all the way in here, get it prepared, and just like put a whole nother connection right there. Put that whole connection in the wall, just a separate connection, and just see how the first one lasts. And if we lose it in the middle of a show, I can just unplug it and plug it into the other one. Maybe that's how we'll do it, just to see. And what he's talking about is a Ethernet cable that I ran from my router, which is in the house, all the way out. It's actually in the room where I used to podcast, all the way out here. And there's a jack, which I don't know you guys can see it. Let's see. Right there. Good grief, it's hard to do this. The jack is right there. And the Ethernet cable is plugged into my computer, and there's a splitter here that separates it and allows me to plug multiple computers into it. So I have that all sitting right here. But it's not the proper cable to go underground, and we're kind of curious now how long it'll last, so we'll keep you posted. Maybe you'll see it mid-show. Sam Andrews says, an experienced electrician that I'm friends with didn't know what capacitance was. Seriously. You know, I don't know how that comes into play. As an electrician, and again, guys, you can call into the show right here, and you can actually appear on the show if you want to. If anyone wants to appear with me on air, you can always let me know. You can put it in the chat. You can put it over here on Discord. Send me a direct message, and I'll be happy to let you know how you can do that. Oh, let me see here. The NorCal Knee Pros hated knee pads until I tried these. Actually, let me come back. As far as electrical, I know a lot of guys who do like new homes over and over again. They may not know some of those other components and other terms because they're so used to just running wiring up new homes. I can see how that could happen if you have that specialty. Now, I would think that an electrician, because my brother-in-law is an electrician and he knows a ton of stuff, way more than I know about it. So it's kind of odd, but he's a business owner too, so I'm not sure. It's kind of weird. APR 928 says you should feel the body ache tomorrow. Yeah, well, usually I feel it the day after. I actually feel okay today. The first time I did like an all-day duct job on that house, I did feel it the next day. I did feel it. We had a phone call for like 1/10 of a second and then it hung up. Feel free to call back. Feel free to call back, man. Let's see here. What's the future on fleet vehicles? You know what? I don't know what to tell you on that one. I'm not sure on that one. All right, let's see. We do have a phone call coming in here. Let me see if I can patch them through. Hopefully I plugged all the cords in correctly. We'll see what happens. Hello, you're in the air. Oh, you'll have to stop the YouTube, though. Turn the YouTube off.
Zach.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Stop the YouTube, though. Oh, sorry. 1 sec.
It's a common thing. Don't worry about it. Just for everybody listening out there, if you're listening to YouTube when you call in, pause it because there's like an 8-second delay. It'll cause brain damage if you try to listen to both of them simultaneously.
I'm sorry about that.
Oh, no, it's no problem. Everybody does that. It's no big deal.
Yeah, so it's Hunter King here. I got a question for you. I just messaged you in the comments there, but I was curious. I was going to call you. How do you think the heat pump heat is compared to, like, I know you have a Bosch IDS. How is it compared to a gas furnace as far as, like, efficiency goes and your heat rise?
I think, well, so with a gas furnace, I know your heat rise could be anywhere from like 30, 40, even 50 degrees, right? You get a significant heat rise. With the Bosch, I haven't really measured the Bosch really well, but I have measured units that I've worked on in the past. And I know seen a lot of heat pumps. If I had 20 to 25 degrees of heat rise, that was pretty good. So if you had air going in at like 70 degrees. If you got 95 out on the heat pump, that was pretty decent for a heat pump. Now, I know a lot of people get bothered by that as far as how it feels. They feel like it's almost like a draft in the house. It's not warm enough to be, I don't know, like you're sitting in your chair and the heat pump heat comes on and it feels almost like cool air instead of warm air. And I could sort of understand that. And we heard a lot about that from guys like from up north that would move down here that were used to natural gas, propane, or oil. They would say, man, this feels cold coming out. And it's colder when it starts than after it's been running and it's in steady state for a while. It'll be like 80 some degrees and then build up to that temperature. So I don't know, man. I liked having a natural gas because I had a natural gas pack when I lived in the little town about 10 miles to the south of here. I like that thing. Natural gas is pretty cheap. And if I still had natural gas, I think I would rather have dual fuel than just a heat pump by itself, just me personally. I don't know. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, that's a thing though, right? Because like obviously you have a lower TD with the heat pump compared to a gas furnace. So the heat pump's technically more efficient at a certain temperature outside, obviously, right? So the thing is, what I don't understand is the heat pump's going to run obviously quite a bit longer than a natural gas furnace. So the efficiency obviously is higher in a heat pump depending on the outside temperature. So I'm just curious to think like, say the heat pump has to run, 3 times longer than a natural gas furnace, if the money you're saving is actually what they're saying, because obviously a gas furnace heats up, shuts down, it's going to be more comfortable with the heat pump because it's running longer at a lower TD, right? So I don't know. And with the whole green movement, like I got my gas ticket, but with the whole green movement, it's just very curious because most people, like I'm in Canada, don't have heat pumps. We're going like more to the VRF systems on commercial buildings. But I don't know, like a lot of people don't think it's happening, but I think it is. And I don't know, I'm just curious because we don't see too many heat pumps doing a full house. We mainly see natural gas boilers or natural gas furnaces. That's pretty much it. So
yeah, that makes sense. And the VRF stuff and like the variable speed stuff, even like the Bosch I have, it's like a different animal than like a single speed heat pump, because a single speed heat pump is like, it's dumb and slow and it builds up over time to that maximum temperature that it's going to heat. And the Bosch or some other variable speed machine can manipulate. They have like an algorithm to change the compressor speed. They can make warmer air faster. They can make warmer air in colder weather because the compressor has a higher RPM. So I think if you have variable speed, it's going to be closer to having that natural gas. But just me personally, thinking about having the Bosch for the last year and a half, having the Bosch with a coil on top of a natural gas furnace would be my ideal, I think, if I had natural gas. I'm not doing it with propane because propane is more expensive and it's just other headaches. But if it were natural gas where I live, I think I'd rather have the natural gas. And I'm with you. I think I don't think there's a huge separation between a benefit financially just to have a single heat pump here. I'd rather have the natural gas backup. So when it is 40 degrees outside or wherever the cutoff is going to be, whatever I decide to do, it'll be nice to switch over to something that's heat right away.
So before you had your Bosch heat pump, did you have a heat pump before that, or did you just have an air conditioner straight?
Before I had the Bosch, it was a packaged heat pump. Everything I've ever had has been packaged heat pumps, except for one house that I lived at. I had the packaged gas, natural gas pack.
Okay, I was just curious, and if you noticed much difference from running the heat pump to a certain temperature than running a natural gas furnace the whole time. Have you noticed any difference?
I haven't did like a real comparison where I could tell you like scientifically this is what I found out. But I'll tell you what I will do is I will study the Bosch a little bit and see how it acts, because right now it's actually pretty daggone cold here. It's going to be like 40 overnight, and for us that's pretty cold. So I could do a little bit of studying of the temperature what the Bosch puts out, and maybe I can answer that a little bit better in a future show here coming up.
Yeah, no, it sounds good. I'm just curiosity because a lot of everything's coming like the green energy, right? So it's curious to think what people say because, a lot of older people are no, it's not going to happen, and natural gas, and they don't understand heat pumps. They don't realize that it's probably what's going to happen really soon, right? So I'm just curious seeing people, like obviously you're in the northern climate of USA, so you experience cold climates. So it's just interesting to see how it compares to like a gas furnace when it's cold out, right? So
Absolutely. They can be manipulated too. I mean, you can change speeds of blowers and things like that to get the temperature up or down. And sometimes you have to, based on what the duct system is like, especially if you didn't change out a duct system and maybe you should have at some point in your career and you realize the heat rise is way too high and you have to slow the blower down. I mean, you can manipulate it. You can manipulate the Bosch too to change the temperatures. You can do all that sort of thing. But I don't know. I'd want to track it for like a significant period of time to compare. And it's a shame I don't have any gas appliances to compare it to. None of the people I know around here have gas heat because I don't know anybody from that town any longer that has the gas heat. People are moving away from it. There is like a green movement, and I don't know how. Some of it I think is a little foolish, but I know some of it's right, and it's thinking that it's going to be more efficient or better. You don't say better for the planet or whatever. But some of it's just kind of like it's an emotional movement, and you have to kind of ignore that part of it, I think, and just think about the logical section.
Yeah, and that's not a debate itself, right? Like, I'm in southwestern Ontario, so like very south of Canada, and we still have tons of oil, and it's still here. There is not leaving. I'm surprisingly, but they upgraded the ECM motors and all that stuff like that, but still oil, like.
Yeah, that's the worst to me. I mean, for the environmental people, that's got to be the worst for them. But I mean, just working on that stuff is just horrible. I mean, it's just the smelliest, most disgusting thing to work on. So I don't know. I wouldn't mind if oil disappeared. I don't know about you, but I'd like to see it go just because it's nasty.
Yeah, it's a different ticket here in Canada, like in Ontario here. It's a different ticket. So you got to get your oil burner license 1 and 2, and then you got your natural gas license and propane, and then refrigeration, air conditioning is another ticket on top of that. So it's all separate.
That's interesting. So, if you don't mind, let's talk about that for just a second, because where I'm at, okay, if I want to be, I was a business owner for years and of course a technician before that. So I have an EPA card, a contractor's license, and then all the insurances I need, but that's all I had to have. So what did you have to have just to operate in your area? What do you carry with you now?
So in order to, if you have either your oil ticket, which is there's 2 tickets, and you have a gas. Actually, there's 3 tickets for your gas license here in Ontario. So you have your G3, which is basically your basic. You can touch gas. You have a G2, which means you can operate up to 400,000 BTUs, and then you get your G1, which means that you can operate on any 1,000 BTUs. So we got that, your oil ticket. So those 2 are operated by TSSA, which is you got to get your TSSA ticket. Same with electrical and plumbing. So it's an organization that basically, it's a government for that stuff. As far as your refrigeration air conditioning goes, it's a totally separate ticket. You have to apprentice for it here in Ontario. I know some states you don't have to do that, but in Ontario you have to apprentice for 9,000 hours, which is about 5 years, and you have to do 3 terms of school, and then write a CFQ, which is Red Seal, which means you can go anywhere in Canada. But everything's separated, and then obviously insurance and stuff like that. But the refrigeration, air conditioning, the Red Seal ticket, they don't really govern it. There's a thing called Call to Trades here in Ontario, and they don't really do much. It's more the TSSA that governs the gas license, and they do it to elevators and stuff like that too. They're more strict, and they'll show up the job sites and stuff. As far as the refrigeration, air conditioning stuff, you don't really get bothered by. But obviously, you need all that stuff, and then we have a thing called the ODP card, which I'm assuming is the same as your EPA, which is basically called ozone depletion, and it's so you can handle refrigerants. You have to take it every 40 years, and so you can buy refrigerant so that they know how to recover and all that stuff. And it's a ticket called ODP. But besides that, that's pretty much it.
Well, that's enough, I think. That's a lot more than we have to have as far as just particular licenses. And are all those different things, all those different tickets you mentioned, is that something you renew on a fixed interval?
Yeah, so it's funny. So the ODP, which is called ozone depletion card, obviously you don't have any refrigerants or ozone depletion, right? It's all global warming potential now. But you have to renew that card every 4 years, and all you have to do is pay a fine. So you don't even have to do the course anymore. They just want you to pay a fine. You get the ODP card, and all that is to say, hey, I can handle refrigerants, and then if you recover refrigerant, you have to write a tag, and you got to put the tag on the unit, which I know a lot of people don't do, but you still put a tag on a unit saying I recovered this or there's a leak or whatever, so it can get disposed of. But that's one other thing. And then I'm assuming do you guys have 636 down there, like PVC, like for venting for furnaces and stuff?
636 PVC. Now,
Yeah, like 636 Royal pipe. You know, like the 2-inch pipe for your high efficient gas furnaces.
we do have that. I don't know about the 636 part. It might be called something else, I guess, down here, but
Oh,
we do have it.
and then do you have the flexible yellow gas tight, like Ward Flex gas tight, stuff like
Yes,
that?
we definitely have that.
Okay, so Ward Flex, gas tight, Diamondback, those you have to actually do a full day training in order to get a certificate, in order to use that stuff here. And on top of that, so the 636 stuff or Royal, you have to get a certificate as well in order to to use the venting. As ridiculous as that sounds, but they're all 1-day courses, and then you get a little card saying you can use it. But yeah, they're very strict up here. I had a friend that went to Ohio, and they're like, we don't even need a refrigeration ticket to work on refrigeration. I'm like, pardon me. They're like, yeah, no, we just out of high school, you can just go and do it. I'm like, that's kind of weird, but
Yeah, it's strange down here. I mean, for like if we wanted to buy R22, we'd need that EPA card, but some of the other refrigerants were not regulated by that. So at some point, at least, you could purchase like 410A or 134A without any EPA license and use it because it was an HFC instead of an HCFC, and for some reason that wasn't covered. So
yeah, so your EPA card would be identical to my ODP card, and you take it one time and then you renew it every couple of years. But I've been in the trade for 8 years. I don't think I've seen one person ask for my ODP card. So
yeah,
as long as you say you're with a company and they just give it to you, right? So
that's right. I mean, that's the way it is down here. I've seen plenty of people without EPA licenses purchase refrigerant that was supposed to be governed by the EPA license, or even equipment where you should have a contractor's license. I've seen them buy the equipment plenty of times because, I mean, people want to make money. So they forget, in quotations here, to ask people for their licensure. But, I mean, it's not uncommon, unfortunately.
So where you're living, do you need you take an apprenticeship to get your like a refrigeration air conditioning ticket? Like,
Oh no, not here. I mean, there's parts of the United States where you have to have, they do apprenticeships, but where I'm at right
yeah,
here, it's let's think of it. I call it the Wild West, which I know you call him from Canada, but the Wild West probably has some meaning for you too, where refers to pioneer days here, where there was lawlessness, and that's what it is here. It's just you graduate from high school, like you were saying, you go out there, and if you have an EPA card, I mean, you can just run around doing whatever you want. And a lot of times you don't even need the card because if no one asks for it, I mean, you don't really need it. Theoretically, I mean, we all have cards. The legitimate people have cards and everything we need, but it's not stringent at all. And no apprenticeships, nothing. Because I didn't go through any of that.
That's crazy. That's crazy because literally at that point anyone can just just start working right away. Like we were obviously apprenticeship. You work right out of high school, right? But there's levels to it, and you learn to get to where you need to be. But it's crazy to think that you can just go to high school and just not worry about doing anything.
Oh yeah, I mean, just one EPA card away from doing everything you need to do. As far as my level,
does it not downgrade you guys in a sense because like it's like not like almost easy to get to where you need to be in a sense like it can saturate the market. Not like
yes,
well, obviously we need refrigeration guys and stuff like that, but I mean as far as value goes to like people like you that have been in the trade for years, isn't it not like
it is absolutely. When you said saturate the market, that's exactly what I was thinking because people can see this as, hey, I just take a couple steps, I buy some gauges, I watch YouTube a couple times, I'm good to go. And they'll go out there and maybe they do some stuff right and maybe they do some stuff very, very wrong, which I'm sure they do. But yes, it saturates the market with a bunch of what my family used to call jacklegs, people that don't know what they're doing. But they do it very cheaply. So
yeah, like we kind of have that issue here too. But like I started in 2014. I just finished school recently, my third term, and then you gotta get your hours, and then there's a book you have to sign. Okay, there's a book. I don't know, it's like 150 pages, and you have to get every page signed saying you did this, you did this, you did this. For example, you brazed, you welded this pipe, like all that stuff that you do with the refrigeration ticket. You have to get everyone signed by a certificate of a guy that has his license, and then you have to send it to the ministry with that, also all your hours, and then after all that, you write your ticket, and then you have to pass your actual CFQ. Not just school, you have to pass your CFQ, which is a government thing. And once you pass the CFQ, you can work in all of Canada, which is called a red seal. So it's governed all of Canada. So it's a federal ticket, which makes more sense than like a provincial ticket or a state by state ticket, right? Because you could just, go anywhere, right? So it's the same across all of the country, and then you're done. That's it. Where you can go anywhere, and it's the same thing all across the board, which it does make sense. And yeah, like my buddy that went to Ohio, he told me that. I'm like, I did not know that was a thing. Like, I'm like, how does that make any sense? You could just go, you can get your ticket, work really hard in one state, and then just go to another state and just start working. Like,
oh yeah. Yeah, it's different from place to place. There's a lot of variability here. I think a lot of the United States in this particular area, there's a lot of each state has some dominion over their own laws. So if you go state to state, I mean, contractor's license may not have reciprocity. They may not allow you to do something in a certain state if you have a certain license from another state. Some do. Like, I believe I can go to South Carolina and do work, and I'm from North Carolina. But a lot of times it's very segmented. I mean, you may even have to go to a certain town, and here's where it's similar to what you're saying, except it's just fiscal stuff. It's not training. It's just a fee you have to pay. Like, if you go to a certain town, you have to get what they call a privilege license to be able to do work there. So you pay your $25, $35, get your privilege license. Oh, it's probably $100 now, for all I know. And then you can work there. But there's none of that training stipulation, none of that schooling required. All of our stuff, all of our hurdles revolve around the government making money from us. It's not from training. But let me ask you something. Since you have to do so much as far as apprenticeship and training, do you feel like, okay, you've heard down here, it's kind of the Wild West. Up there, you're going through a significant amount of schooling. Do you feel like that the way you went through it is the proper way, or is there some in between? And I'm guessing you probably don't feel like no schooling is the way. So what do you think? Do you think you had the right amount, or is it overkill?
So I think they did it perfectly here. And I'm like I like the United States a lot. I'm more like pro non-government and stuff like that. So it's easy for me to say this. So I'm actually the opposite of what I'm saying in that sense. But as far as the schooling goes, I think they did do the right thing here. And I'll explain why. So you have two tickets for your refrigeration air conditioning here. You have your 313D, which is your residential, which you can work up to 5 tons, okay? And then you have your 313A, which you can work on to as much as you want. So your 313D is up to 5 tons, and it's 5,000 hours, and I think 3 years. And then your 313A is 9,000 hours, and you can work up to as much as you want. So there's 2 tickets. So you can pick which one you want. Obviously, 313A passes 313D. So you have your basic, intermediate, and advanced. And each term is only 8 weeks. Okay, so you got 8 weeks, you got 2 months, and then you wait about a year to 2 years, and then you got another 2 months, year, 2 years, and then another 2 months. So really, it's not that much schooling, but it's full time for those every 2 months. And what they do is so your basic, 2 months, you learn, you do your test, all that, boom, you're done. You go to your second, and so you kind of learn, and they make sure you're at a certain knowledge in order to like graduate. But it's not like they're trying to, like if you really wanted to be somebody, it's not like they're trying to hold you back. Like, it's okay, I want to do this. You got to actually care enough to pass, but it's not like you're held back with university. Like, it's not super hard. Okay. And then, so you do the first term, second term, third term, which is about 5 years, and you get your 9,000 hours. After you get your 9,000 hours, you do your CFQ, which is like a federal, federal license. You write your CFQ, you have to get a 70%. Once you get that, then that's it. You got your ticket. You can go anywhere across Canada. So if I'm thinking of where I am, and if I can go to the States, some states, and can just get my ticket and go, I would definitely prefer this, because I'm not a school person. First of all, I never graduated high school, okay? So I'm not a school person, but I cared enough to like what I'm doing, and I feel like this makes techs way more valuable where I'm from. I know we're short of techs, but the school is nothing to make you like, I can't do school. It's more, if you want to be here and you got to put a little bit of work in, it's 2 months every, 2 years maybe, full time, you get EI, all that stuff to get paid. So it's nothing to worry about as far as that goes. And it's like a level, right? And also here, it's a 5-year term, right? every year you go by, you get a raise automatically. There's a minimum raise here in Canada, but Ontario, so you get a raise no matter what. And then when you graduate, you get another raise. So every level you do, and the more and more hours you put in, the more money you make automatically. There's a minimum, and then they can pay you more above that. So it's more of a, I don't know. I think the HVAC guys here are more, not more in the States, but they're more like, it's not, you can't just go and do it. Like you start your apprenticeship, and if you don't do first or second year, you don't want to go to school and stuff like that, you're out, like you're done. So it's more like it weeds out the people that don't really want to do it. They just want to do it for a job, and it actually brings people in that really want to do it, and it gives more meaning to the trade, right? Like it's not like it's super hard or nothing like that, but it just, they want to make sure that, you know, that you actually want to do it. And the school, as far as Ontario goes, it's only $500 a term. So the school is very cheap, if not almost free. So they don't make it like an actual schooling program where you're paying a lot of thousands of dollars. They just want to make sure you're going through the process. And then once you're certified, they know you're qualified. So that's all it really comes down to. And I'm more anti-government, less schooling and all that stuff. But I think this was the right way. And I feel like I'm a better technician because of it. So that's my opinion. But
I appreciate all that. That's a lot of information I did not know about the system there. So what you're also saying is that you would be on the trucker convoy and not protesting them?
I didn't go to Ottawa because I was in school, but yeah. I mean, I'm you know what? All the governments suck. I'll put it that way. Everyone sucks. So,
yeah, I agree. Governments
I guess so.
should just do basic things and leave us alone.
You know what, though? I will say one thing. I'm way more interested in the United States politics than I am down here. I'm sitting here like, our politics suck. Like,
well, you had that trucker thing, and you guys were in the news here for like a few weeks, and then now it kind of disappeared again. It's like Trudeau hates the truckers. He's trying to stop the trucker, and it disappears now. And now we don't hear anything any longer.
There's actually a freedom convoy, or is it freedom? Or no, there's a biker convoy that went on this week in Ottawa, and there's a bunch of bikers that they're still protesting because I don't want to talk about politics because it's HVAC course, but I'll just say this quick. So in Canada, if you're unvaccinated, you still can't fly, believe it or not. So there's a couple things that are still, you cannot fly if you're not vaccinated in Canada. So there's some still things that they're fighting for and rights, which is ridiculous, but I get that part. So there was a bunch of bikers that went up to Ottawa this weekend. So it's still happening, but you just don't hear about it. So
yeah, they stopped talking about it here. I guess they moved on to something else.
Well, they were worried about all the truckers going to the Washington D.C. when the Super Bowl happened.
Yeah, that's right. There was talk about that. But wild.
Yes, I don't know what happened with that, but
I guess that it just kind of died out all of a sudden. It's interesting how that happens. If we're not told about stuff, then it dies out. And if we are told about stuff, it stays alive. And I guess that's how everything goes. But Hunter, I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, exactly.
That was a lot of info, and that was awesome. Awesome conversation.
Yeah, I'm sitting here watching you, and I'm talking to my girlfriend. I'm like, I should call you, and she's like, no, don't call. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna call him. I've been on the phone for half an hour. I'm like, no, it's okay.
Yeah, always call. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
That's how this information gets shared. I mean, we're not here to listen to me talk for an hour about the job I did the other day. It's good for people to call in and share experience. So you did just that. You were right. Tell your girlfriend you were right.
And you know what? The thing is, it's very interesting because I live in a city right beside the border in Michigan, like literally 5 minutes away. So it's not like I'm far away from the United States, right? So it's just very interesting to me because I can go to the States in 10 minutes, and everything's so different. So it's more of a curiosity thing because like we're almost the same, like we're North America. So it's like I'm wondering what's going on over there. At the same time, you've been in the trade for a long time. I'm 26. I've been in the trade for 8 years now.
Wow.
But most people I talk to, especially like around your age, like my stepdads are like around your age, and they're very stubborn, right? As far as natural gas goes, and like just like stuff like that, they're very stubborn. They're very, nothing's gonna change, nothing's happening. And I'm like, no, I don't think you're right. It's nice talking to people that actually understand that, there's change happening, even we like it or not. And, no one wants to talk about it. No one wants to like. I'm not anti-gas or nothing like that. I want to know because I want to go in that, in that area where it's actually exceeding, so I know in the future that I'm gonna be okay, right? Like,
absolutely. I think that's a good plan. I think there's a lot, like you said, there's a lot of guys out there that are stubborn, for sure. I mean, if you come up and you learn a certain thing and you've learned that your whole life, it's hard to let go of that, because it's like someone saying the thing you know the most is changing, so you might no longer know the most, but you have to keep evolving with it. That's really hard to do, because that's a constant process. And a lot of times we get to the age where we just want to kind of coast or relax a little bit, and you really can't do that. You got to kind of evolve constantly, hang on to the good stuff, but you got to keep learning, and that's the tough part. I think it's a struggle for a lot of people. I'm 42. People in their 40s and 50s that are still out there probably face that struggle quite a bit.
yeah, like it's like coworkers and stuff, right? They do their whole life, and it's just like, no, it's the way it is. And yeah, it's and you have to think about that. Like when you're really early in your career, you have to see where things are going, because you have to go with that no matter if you don't like it or not. So that's why I ask people about heat pumps and stuff like that, especially in Canada where they're not super popular, but they're becoming really popular, especially with like electronics hooking your laptop up to Mitsubishi. Like we work on a couple of Mitsubishis here, VRF systems, and it's like most guys, they don't even know how to, like, this is the way it's going. And I talk to some people and they're like, no, nothing's changing. And then you talk to other people like, yeah, no, it's going this way. I'm like, okay, well, like, what is it? I want to, like, I'm just curious. Like, I don't care if it stays like this or it moves on. I'm just curious on what people think, because like, I don't know, like, it's just, you want to know that stuff because you work every day, right? Like, you want to know what's happening.
Yeah, it's going to change whether you want it to or not.
Exactly.
There's no stopping that. It's just a question of when and how long it takes, but it will change because things have changed quite a bit. Especially, it seems to be pretty rapid because of technological advancements in the last 10 or 15 years. But I mean, it's natural for things to change. If you have some perspective, you step back and you look at a timeline, maybe even going back from before you were ever in the trade or before you were even born, and you look at how things were then, you see the big difference between 1950, 1970, 1990, and now. You know you're not going to stop it. And you're either going to retire or you're going to continue learning and evolving. I mean, that's the two choices. So if you have enough money, you retire, I guess. But I don't have enough money, so I have to evolve.
Yeah, and like say they want to get rid of natural gas and whatever because it's bad for the environment. That's another topic, right? Like we can say, okay, methane's bad, fraction's bad, but that's not even what we're debating anymore. It's we're working with what we have. Like there's nothing we can change. So whether I agree or disagree with what they're doing with natural gas or oil, because I can be on both sides of that. It's my job is I got to do what the legislation says, right? So it's just, and like I said, I'm more young in the trade. I'm 26, right? So most people are, in their 40s and 50s. Besides you, obviously, you're very well of what's happening in the future. But most people, like my stepdad, for example, he's around your age, and they're just like, no, not happening. I got my gas license. I got a buddy that around the same age, an oil ticket, always oil all year round. In the summer, just maintenance is all oil. I'm like, dude, you gotta think about, if you're gonna be in the trade for the next 20 years, you have to think about this stuff, because whether you believe it or not, I think it's probably going to affect you. I could be wrong, but I don't know. I feel like I feel people aren't prepared. Like, for example, electric cars. It's huge. Electric cars are becoming a huge thing very fast here, especially with hybrids and stuff. Oh,
yeah. It's starting to take off a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm thinking about stuff like that, and like they don't think about that in the HVAC business. They're like, dude, like heat pumps, like I don't know. I find people are just older generation. No offense to you, but like I mean, in general, because they know what they know and that's it, and nothing's gonna change. It's been very slow, and it's gonna phase out, as you can say. They're just more stubborn. They don't want to admit that fact, and I could be wrong, but I'm like, you should at least think about it.
Yeah, it's you're not wrong per se. There's like two perspectives I think of. I think I've mentioned it on the show before. You have experience versus youth, for lack of a better word. They have to be combined. If you can combine those ideals, like youth is ready to learn new things, and the experience has this wealth of knowledge to sort through on every problem, because most problems aren't new age problems in the refrigeration field. They're old school stuff with maybe new controls that you have to learn. So if you combine that knowledge, I mean, it's really kind of like the perfect tech. Can you build the perfect tech by that guy evolving and the young guy getting experience and then working together? That's what needs to happen. But, what happens? I don't know. Sometimes it doesn't work out. By sometimes, I mean most of the time.
Yeah, and like that's another thing too. Like obviously, when you burn natural gas, it's super clean. You burn nothing, right? But as far as the fracking goes and stuff like that, you get methane. So the question is how bad is the methane? And then obviously upstream, they have an issue with leaks that are happening. I think 2% is leaking the atmosphere. So when you compare all that, is it justified? You know what I mean? Like, is it like, I don't know, like especially with the hydro cut, like with the, when, everyone get electric cars and all that stuff and heat pumps, blah, 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 blah. The grid is having obviously a harder time, right? People are not thinking about that part. So everything's been way more cleaner, right? Like you had a 1986 Trans Am, you put in your garage, you turn it on, you can smell it right away. Everything's way cleaner. So it's funny how everything's going way more green. I know we have more people in the world, but everything's way more cleaner. And it just seems like it's not enough. It's not enough. It's not enough. So it's just like, I don't know. It's and I'm young still, so I'm curious. It's just like where's the point? Like obviously the if it's just you on this world burning natural gas, nothing's gonna happen, right? Like there's enough. You know what I'm saying? Like
this is a
like,
tough
where's
one.
the limit?
I understand what you're saying, but there is a little bit more perspective that will open in this area as you age. That's one of the difficulties of it. I know what you're saying, but it would be difficult to explain my perspective on it because the extra time allows you to see things a little bit differently, and that's one of the benefits of the older tech. They have been around for a while. They can see a wide scope of the picture. So that's why I was mentioning to combine those two attributes is best. It would be hard to explain, especially here right now. But it's a long conversation, but one that perhaps we can have, and I can prepare for a little bit because it would be a great conversation to have when you think about the perspective of time and what's appropriate and what's not appropriate in this movement forward and what's liable and what's not. It'd be an interesting thing to do, but it would be like an hour and a half or something, it feels like. But Hunter, man, I'm gonna do sponsor things so I can make sponsors happy, so I can continue to do the show. But this was awesome.
No problem. I've been watching you for a while. But I obviously come in the. I'm not even thinking about that. I'm going to YouTube. I'm like, HVAC. He's on. So I'm just like, I'm gonna go see what's up, and then. So no, it's I wasn't even gonna call you, and I'm like, I gotta call him because I just touched him a couple times in the chat. I'm like, I have way too much to talk about to not say anything, and I'm like, holy shit, no one's calling in. What's wrong with people? I'm like, I'm gonna call in. So
well, there's a lot of hesitation just because I don't know, calling into somebody live on the air. It has a little bit of intimidation, nothing to do with me or the show. It's just the whole instance is kind of intimidating, but people don't be. I mean, it's just like talking to another person that does the same thing you do. So no big deal. Just relax and have fun. That's what I say.
Yeah, and the thing is, you got to call now because within weeks, months, years, you're going to be on hold and you're not going to get in. So, I mean, it's just going to get worse and worse. And you obviously been doing this for a while, right? Like I follow you on Instagram and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
So it's one of those. It's funny. I called in. I'm like, and then I picked up right away. I'm like, this is weird because this is not supposed to happen. Like, you're supposed to wait, all that stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's funny how people are. Yeah. So, but the thing is, most of the guys I talk to, like as far as the conversations we're having, they're just like, yeah, no, super heat sub cool. Okay, see you later, dude. People don't people are not interested like in depth about like what we talked about. Like people don't really. Like even that, like I have a buddy that's in the trade for 20 years. They don't really care, and it's just funny. Like I could talk about tools, I could talk about field piece, I could talk about meters, I could talk about all that stuff.
Yeah.
But people just don't care. So it's nice talking to someone that actually, and especially you've been in the trade for so long and you still care that much about it. Because obviously when you're in the trade for 15, 20 years, I'm not going to say everyone, but a lot of people stop caring more and just think of it as a job. So it's not like you can just talk to these people and be like, hey, that new field piece, micron gauge that came out that's wireless? No, I don't. I was like, okay, well, never mind.
You got to have both conversations. I mean, both are good to have. The tools, just the on the surface, superficial stuff, as well as the stuff that's more probing and more of a discussion that's a little bit deeper than on the surface. You got to be able to have both of those discussions because you need both of them. I mean, to function, you need both of them. And those help fuel the love of the trade Because love of the trade is thinking about the things that we've talked about. And it's also saying, I like these new gauges. These are awesome. Because there's a certain degree of that. You know, we're men. We like stuff like that. So you have to entertain that characteristic of our personalities. I think you have to have both. But it's good to have a little bit of forethought and think about the future and kind of reflect on like the general picture of what's going on. So I'm moving my hands a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see this.
No, I get that. So the Testo 570s, I think, the touchscreen ones, they're the new ones that came out. I got my buddy to buy them. He's been in the trade for 20 years. And he's like, I don't think I'll, and he bought them. And he had a unit that was really like skyrocketing, going down on superheat, right? But he did the calculations automatically, so he can never see them in real time. And he bought these gauges and he hooked them up. Not on purpose. Around the same time he bought the gauges, he's like, okay, I'm going to use this gauge on this unit. I think it was a pool pack unit for a pool system. Mm-hmm. And he put these gauges on, and he diagnosed the problem within 10 minutes because he had real-time information with the superheat. He's like, I love these things now. And he's an old-school guy, not a digital Bluetooth, none of that stuff. And he used the first time he used those gauges was a coincidence because he bought them when he was having an issue with that unit. And he swears by him now. And it's funny because if I never said anything or any new guy, they would have been like, no, because you do your calculation, you do the subtraction, you don't watch it hunt, right? So it's funny. And he found out what the issue was, and it was his third callback. So
it's funny because you say that, and what I think about is I grew up with analog gauges, and even though there was digitals have been out for a while, just not a whole lot of people purchased them. They were kind of new to the market. I grew up with analog gauges. And when I switched to digital, it was an adjustment for me too, because I was so used to diagnosing a system and understanding it based on needles moving.
And you see the gauge too, right? Like you see where the actual gauge is. So it's like when you see numbers, you're like, I don't know what this means.
It's something to get used to, because like someone who's been around the trade for a while, we notice a lot of things that aren't. It's not data. It's the instruments we're using, like a needled gauge. You notice how the needle's moving and you associate it with problems. But having to translate that into seeing a digital readout and it in motion, it's different. And it takes it's just odd because it's nothing to do with your troubleshooting ability. It's just how you've always done it. And, you see a system pump down, you see the needle drop. But on the digital gauge, there's no needle to drop. So it's just, although it sounds silly, you have to get used to it. And it's a little weird at the beginning.
But you know what? You're 1,000% right, because when I bought my Fieldpiece probes, I was using the Fieldpiece app, and I always do analog gauges, and I seen these numbers, and it took me a long time. And then what I did was I downloaded Measure Quick because I could see the actual needle move, and it made it doesn't make much sense, but it made a huge difference watching that actual gauge. And then I had friends that I'm a Fieldpiece guy, Testo guy, but I had friends by the Yellow Jacket gauges. I know you're a Yellow Jacket guy, because they have the gauges on them, so they can actually watch the needle move, and it's just, I don't know. It's just
something
one
to
of those things where you learn. Like
it's muscle memory. It's like a version of muscle memory or something. You're just used to doing a certain thing over and over again. You're used to diagnosing problems based on a certain thing, and you're just used to it. I mean, that's perfectly reasonable. It's like sitting in a car and driving it and then driving a different car after 20 years of driving a certain car. Everything feels strange. Everything feels different, from the seat to the way it shifts to everything, the steering. And it's almost like learning to drive again because you have to adjust so many things on how you do it. So I just think it's the same thing. But it can be done, and anybody, no matter how long they've been in the trade, can do it if willing. So that's the good thing.
Yeah, and I mean, with the digital system coming up, and most of the people that obviously they're old school with analog their whole life, it takes a long time for them to adjust, right? But I think the biggest thing that's easiest for them is if you're good with looking at actual temperatures and not pressures, which I know takes some people. I always look at temperatures because obviously pressures are irrelevant when you're using bunch of different gases, especially nowadays, right? If you're looking at temperatures, I mean, it's a little bit easier to use the numbers because you're looking at the evaporate temperature, the cadetic temperature, not so much the pressures. I feel like it's a little bit easier looking at numbers as far as like learning to use them. But I don't know. It's definitely the way to go, and with the prices finally coming down and stuff like that, I think more people are going to go to them. But I don't know.
I think so. I think it's going to be a non-issue in a few years because there'll be enough people that have moved on in that area that the discussion will be a little bit more rare, that you'll have to worry about that, especially when you have like Testo gauges that are so inexpensive to buy. There's analog gauges that are quality gauges that cost just as much as digital gauges now. So if you want a quality pair, you might as well buy some digital gauges. I don't think you even have to go to analog anymore.
The funny thing is, and you can probably relate to this, is I got the Testo 550s, and I got the Field Piece probes, and I've had them for years. And I just bought a brand new set of analog yellow jack gauges, and I use them a lot. And I'm thinking, like, why am I using these? And it's just, I don't know if it's a comfort thing or what, but it's just so nice to see an analog gauge sometimes.
Yeah, I use analog gauges quite a bit. In the triage phase of a service call, I use stubby analog gauges just because it's easier just to screw them on real quick and see what the general look of the system is before you dive a little bit deeper. But I tell you what, Hunter, we do have to cut off the call because we've been going. It's been an hour now. It's been awesome. I want you to call back in. We'll keep talking about this, or if you have anything else, call back in, please, because that's what the show's all about. Okay?
Yeah, no problem. You have a good night.
You too, Hunter. Thank you so much.
All right, see you, Zach. All right, bye.
So that was awesome. See, that's really cool. I know we're running out of time here. I hate to stop it, but we run out of time after a while. We have to stop. What's up, Raw Mesa? What's up, Alexander Weaver? I know a lot of you guys have been chatting. I think it was a very good call. Touched on a lot of subjects there. A couple different things that pop up during that call. Different geographic location and the licensure. That was pretty cool. The different things he has to do compared to what I had to do coming up. Just the different way things are done. And just to compare and contrast. We talked about unions and stuff earlier. I think he actually posed that question. And that's a lot of that stuff just pops up in the conversation down to the digital gauges, which absolutely right. It's interesting to talk. It's like one generation removed almost, because since I'm 42 and he's 26, I mean, a generation is roughly 20 years. So it's almost one generation removed. So it's an interesting perspective. So if we get a 65-year-old in here, we can see what the opposite was. Let's go back in the other direction. He'll be like the most advanced 65-year-old in the world, probably. Be like, yeah, I've been using digital gauges since the Testo 523s in 2004. Or I still got my Digicools or something, like my buddy Rob. He has his Digicools still after all this time. Okay, so I do want to thank the sponsors of this show. For some reason, my sponsor tiles weren't working. I bet they're not going to work still. Nope. I don't know why that is. But we have Yellow Jacket. They have the new dual port manometer Y-Jack probe. So if you're using Y-Jack probes, they have a brand new dual port manometer, which I'm going to want. I'm going to tell you that because it's going to go well with my other stuff. I've been using the Y-Jack probes. You can see me in recent videos, I think, using those. And I'll be using them again in an upcoming video, as well as I'm going to be releasing a video tomorrow where it shows you some of the ductwork and stuff that I was doing yesterday. So that video will come out tomorrow, I think at noon. I've been trying to release 3 videos a day. And because these shows contain so much information, I like to break it apart into little sections. So if people don't watch the whole show, and sometimes people don't watch the whole show at all. I think it's fun to watch the live streams, but some people come back and they miss it or whatever. They want to see some of the high notes. I'll break those apart and put them into the videos. And we're running about a week later on those. So you're about to get videos from Bill Spone and Dave Richardson where they were on the show about a week ago this coming week. And then as the days go by, it'll catch up from some of the previous live streams. So you'll see some of the high points there. We also have NAVAC, sponsored by NAVAC. They have the 4CFM, the 2CFM vacuum pumps. Awesome. It's great to have those if you're doing 5 tons and under, like a boss. The 4CFM can handle a little bit higher than that, but I think that's a pretty good guideline. They have a lot of battery tools coming out now. The battery-powered flaring tool came out recently, well, maybe like a year ago. It's not so recent. And then the battery swage. And you can find out more about those at navacglobal.com or go to TrueTech Tools, a sponsor combo here. TrueTechTools.com for all those testing supplies. And you can save 8% by using the Shop Talk discount code. All right, let's see. Company Cam. Company Cam. I wish I had my slides. Daggone it. Why? Where are they? I'll fix that. Company Cam is just one of those websites that business owners use to categorize the photos and the media they have on the job site so that the company can access it, store it, and file it properly so that you cover your butt for liability purposes. That is the big sell for me whenever I was reading about these guys. Having that information in place so if you have a dispute, you're going to win the dispute as a business owner and not be taken advantage of by a customer that doesn't have the heart of gold. Refrigeration Technologies, refridgetech.com. You need coil cleaners this spring. They're the coil cleaners for you. They have everything you need. I like to say, from the environmentally safe stuff to the stuff if you leave on the fins, there are no more fins. They carry all of those. They carry a lot of food safe stuff, which is not that fin one I mentioned. It's not that one. But they do carry some EnviroSafe cleaners. They have the Nylog from white to blue. I love the blue. Haven't used the white, but the blue, I like it. Seal up threads on stuff. I do love it. Put it on the flares for this mini split right here. I believe in it so much, I put it on factory flares on the factory line set. That's right. I'm a wild man. That video is coming up soon too. But it's still working. Still got charge in it. So it must work well. Let's see, who else do we have here? I got to run down the list out. EWC, zoning products, EWCcontrols.com. I install their zoning products in my home. I've used them before on jobs. Great products, reliable products, and great customer service. You can find out more at EWCcontrols.com. Last but not least, actually, I'm pretty sure we have a couple more, but the last one I'm going to mention for tonight's show is going to be Work With Your Hands. And that is a new sponsor that is trying to recruit for jobs all across the nation. Now, I have a particular job posted in the description that's from my area. It's up in Durham, North Carolina, but they have stuff from all across the U.S. If you click on the link in the description, if you're looking for a new job, they have listings that you can find on their website for a ton of different areas, for HVAC guys, for plumbers, for electricians, all sorts of tradesmen. So you'll find a whole lot of stuff. All right, let's see here. I don't think we're going to have time to play Skilled Trade Up tonight, guys. But I will give you a little bit of a teaser because it's 10:15. I think I'm going to have to cut it off because kids go to school and stuff like that. Great phone call. We can play Skilled Trade Up on Tuesday night. That's when the next show is going to be. Tuesday night at 8:45, 9 o'clock. I'll make the event on Tuesday, but it'll be 8:45 or 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And just to give you guys a little bit of a look here, the grand prize that I have for this particular upcoming Skilled Trade Up is going to be this Knipex small bolt cutter. Really, really well made stuff. We have the Knipex here. I have a few other prizes. I just ordered some stuff online that I'm going to use for Skilled Trade Up. So it's going to be fun. And the mic is muted, looks like. Oh, no. But this is the Knipex 7101160 for people who listen to this as a podcast. And it's going to be a lot of fun playing for those prizes. For those of you who don't know, Skilled Trade Up is just like a trivia show we do live, where guys come onto the show with me. I ask them questions. They're able to win prizes. And if they want to keep winning higher and higher level prizes, they have to risk everything to go up. It's a lot of fun. There's a little bit of tension. It's a lot of fun. I really, really enjoy it. I had a few other things to talk about tonight. I think I'll just save those for Tuesday. You guys come back, listen again on Tuesday. I really enjoyed it tonight. The only thing I can tell you guys as far as show stuff is, make sure to join the Discord if you enjoy Discord. If you know what Discord is, just like we're just chatting, basically. It's chatting and maybe a way to do interviews and stuff in the future. There's a list of links in the description of this show that you can find. If you can't find the links, then just let me know, hvacshoptalk@gmail.com. But in the description of this video is links to all the social media stuff. If you want to support the show, you can do so as a channel member. There should be a little join thing on the screen. You can do that. I usually turn that support back into prizes and giveaways for the members and our Subscribe Star subscribers, which are just, it's another way of doing members like Patreon. So anything you want to do to support the show, thumbs up is great. That's awesome as always. Leaving a comment afterwards is awesome. And I guess I should get out of here, guys. It's 10:15. We'll get right back after this on Tuesday. We'll talk about some of the stuff I had planned today. Take some more of your phone calls, play a little Skilled Trade Up, and have just a lot of fun. Make sure you guys work safe. Think about your mothers today. I know I was going to tell a story about my mother because she actually worked in the field with us. And maybe I'll end with this. People say, or people ask, what does your mother think of having a trade job? And my mother actually joined my father when he started his company back in 1989. I think it was 1989. He started a company and she came out to work with them for the first few years. I joined him in 94, working in the summertime and then full-time a few years later. And she was out there with all the boys just doing everything they were doing on the job. And we had fun. We had a lot of fun. And she always respected the trades. It was hard work. And with something like that, with that hard work where you got the dirty hands, and like I said at the beginning of the show, you're hosing yourself off after the job, it may be a dirty job, but you can make a good living. You don't have to pay any college debt, at least a minimal amount of trade school debt, if anything. And you can be proud of what you did that day. I've always respected blue collar people for that reason. Now there's nothing wrong with doing anything at the universities and going to college. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But just me personally, I've always respected guys who just showed that they could work their butt off and then take care of their families. I think that's the greatest thing you can do in this life. So I think about my mother doing that sort of thing and coming out and helping my father. My father did the same thing. He worked his butt off. He made a lot of mistakes because he wasn't used to doing that sort of thing. He was an estimator before. He went out on his own and he wanted to do something for his family, and it's still going to this day. So good on my father, good on my mother. They're wonderful people. They've taught me everything I know. I've taken what they've done and I've taken it in my own direction, and I would not be here if it wasn't for them. So thank your mom and dads out there. And guys, I'm gonna get out of here. I'll see you on the next one.